homeschool my 4 children between ages 8 and 12, and no, there's no twins. I had all 4 of them in less than 5 years. Wasn't planned like that. The big family was planned, but that wasn't the plan. So I homeschool all 4 my kids, and I have decided to share a couple of tricks that I've got up my sleeve to get it done and to cope and to manage without a teaching degree. And let me take you through from the beginning where this crazy adventure started. I look forward to sharing all this with you. Okay, so let's jump right in from the beginning. Doesn't help I tell you about homeschooling and you don't know where we started. So homeschooling for us has been a journey basically since my oldest daughter, who is now turning 13 in September. It's literally started with her before her school career even started. She only went to school when she was 5 or almost 5. I think she was 5. And obviously she hated it because there were all these babies at home, and her last brother was born just before she turned 5. She was still 4. And I think she felt like she was missing out on whatever's going on at home. I've always been kind of like a chill mom. I would roll out paper in the passage and give them paint, and they would begin with painting, but eventually they would be rolling in the paint or painting each other's bodies, because they were all like 1 and 2 and 3, so they were like painting in their panties and undies. So I was a pretty chill mom. I had to be. To cope, I had to be chill. Wasn't hectic about where the baby sleeps, when the baby sleeps, how the baby sleeps, because I always had a 2-year-old, a 1-year-old, a 3-year-old, and the baby. That kind of scenario, or like 3 kids on nappies, or who's taking which dummy, because I had 3 kids on dummies, and those kind of things. So I was a very chill toddler baby mom. So the whole homeschooling idea started literally before Nico even went to school. But for me, it was a never will I ever. It was just something that I was not willing to do. It was not something I wanted to do. It was not something I wished to do. It wasn't something that my kids could talk me into doing. I just was like, when you guys go to school, I'm going to be like, woohoo, free mornings, me time, all of that stuff. So I didn't have anything against it, but I most definitely didn't have anything for it. So if I really go sit and I think back, this was now 2018, she was happy. Not always with school. Obviously, no one likes homework. No one likes it when you struggle with math, because in grade 4 and it's not what it used to be in grade 1, 2, and 3. A whole lot of things change, and every mom with a grade 4 will understand what I say. Everything changes when they go from grade 1, 2, and 3 over to grade 4. So obviously normal kid issues, but she was content. She was happy. And then we had to break the news to all 4 the kids, because by that time all 4 of them were in school and well settled and established in the environment and friends and whatever. And then we had to break the news to all of them that we were relocating from the Free State to Gauteng. It was really hard because I was literally about to rip the carpet from underneath them. And it was hard. I mean, it didn't just have an effect on Nico, it had an effect on all my kids. And it took a very long time to get everything back together. And it's flipping hard to move. It's not easy. I think from house to house it's hard. I think from town to town it's harder. And then I think from country to country, it must be freaking hard. We haven't had that experience, but I can only imagine because I have friends that's done this. And it took them a very long time to just puzzle all the pieces back together. So the move had a very big impact on my decision when I made my decision for homeschooling. Most definitely. I'd say number one was the move. He's English, I'm Afrikaans. So it's two languages, it's two cultures, everything's always a little bit more like, we've got to just build it a bit better because we're building from two different angles towards one goal. So with that said, we decided before we had kids that the home language will always be English, and the reason was that no matter where they go in the world, they can at least try and help themselves. Where with Afrikaans, you can only help yourself in South Africa, maybe Holland, I don't know. But what triggered the whole school chaos by the time we moved to Gauteng was main language was English. The kids stayed with me at home until they were about 4.5, 5. That's when they went to school. The moment, except Roxy went a bit earlier because she was jealous Nico went to school. So then what happened was we lived in a town where I didn't like, obviously went to all the open days at the schools, but because we're English, I went to 2 private ones and 1 prep, pre-primary. And then not one school caught my attention. I didn't feel comfortable. I didn't like the ways that they were going to do things. I didn't want to put my kids there. I just was like, there is not a freaking chance that I am putting my kids in an English school. So I got together with my husband so that we can discuss it. And I explained to him, he always trusted me with the kids. So I explained to him why, my reasons. And I said to him, so we've got 2 choices. We're either going to change the kids' language to Afrikaans when it comes to school, but that would mean that they will become that language, because when you speak a language all the time, eventually you just speak it all the time. And then our second option was to move, which at that stage clearly wasn't an option. So I decided to switch languages. Now, Nika was this princess little girl, always next to mommy's side, at home, speaking American English because of all the 2 cartoons that she watched and actually the Disney movies. So when I put her to school, she was all of a sudden, whether you're English or Afrikaans in South Africa, the cultures are different. It's not the same thing. So when I put her in the Afrikaans school, she really battled to adjust to the culture, the language, obviously the routine, because at home it was different, the almost want to say the rush, because now she's got to get up, she's got to do her hair immediately. We can't wait until 9 o'clock when she feels like doing her hair. The complete discipline from my side and from her side, like when it's too cold, do we really want to go out at 7 o'clock in the morning? Those kind of things. Like it really was difficult for her to adjust to. So I totally understand. But then all my kids became Afrikaans. They all went to Afrikaans schools. We were in the Afrikaans culture in school. But in the back of my mind, I always knew one day I want to switch them back to English just for varsity and their future and whatever. So in the back of my mind, it was always there. Then the opportunity came up to move. And I knew when I moved to a bigger place, I would switch my kids from Afrikaans back to English. And then we moved and I found a school which was perfect because it was an English and Afrikaans school, and they had so many policies that I absolutely loved. So I switched them back to English into this school. So the Afrikaans school was a public school and the English school was a private school. But again, what a culture shock. Because first of all, although the private school was English and Afrikaans, they were on the English side. So, you with English friends in the class, your first language is English. Everyone you communicate with, your teachers, everyone is English. The sports is in English. Everything sort of changed. So although there were Afrikaans kids and there's Afrikaans section and they offer every class and every grade in Afrikaans, fact remained my kids were English. And they weren't. They were at that stage very Afrikaans. So it was a very big adjustment, especially obviously for Nika being the oldest. And I think for Luke being in grade 1, because it just started like with all the sounds and the spelling, all those little things that they learn. And he literally had to, boom, in the middle of the year, switch halfway through from Afrikaans to English. So with all that said, I think I'm going to wrap it up for today because I don't want the video to be too long. So, yeah, let's quickly recap on what I said today. Okay, so number 1, I said, never will I ever. Okay, so with that said, I want to tell you that if you change your mind at some point in your life into a completely different direction of what you ever imagined, it's okay. Even if you said the words never will I ever, maybe that never will I ever will become your forever or your greatest achievement or your best decision ever in your life. Then the second thing for me, obviously, drive, motivation behind the decision was obviously my oldest daughter, Nika, purely because she's the one that ever planted the seed when she was 5, and she's the one that watered it when I changed the language and her school and her town and everything. So I would definitely say that she was a big force behind my final decision, not because I listened to my child, but because I listened to my child, if you understand what I'm saying. Like, I didn't just, when she threw her first temper tantrum in grade R to be dropped off at a school with a different language, give in and say, that's it, I'm homeschooling you. It wasn't like that at all. So with her input over the period of 5 years of school, I came to the decision. But she was a very big influence who planted the seed and who forgot about the seed and who then remembered that she planted a seed, and then obviously speaking to me at a much older age about it. So it was a much more mature conversation, and that obviously watered the seed. Then I chatted to you about my third and fourth reason. I'm putting it together, but it's two separate points. First of the language, and then second the move. Okay, so then at the age of 5, it was culture and mostly language, because difficult to learn a new language. We all know that. Then it went from grade R to grade 4, where she adjusted to that culture, learned to love it, whatever. But then back to English, and from a public school to a private school, which, guys, is a huge difference. Also, major adjustments. First off, she was, or all of them actually, except for the baby who just started with Afrikaans, all of them were fully bilingual. They still are. They're completely 100% fully bilingual in such a bad way that they actually don't know what's English and what's Afrikaans when they talk. Like, they will say a sentence where they somehow mix the two languages together, like I just did. So, I personally think that adjustment from public to private school, and then obviously language, Afrikaans, English, which obviously caused cultural adjustments again, Afrikaans culture to English culture. Although it was a fully bilingual school, it adapted more towards the English way of doing things. And the only reason I can say this with confidence is that my kids were in a Afrikaans school. I think if you've always been in a bilingual school, you probably couldn't really tell which side of the fence it really falls towards, or even if it does or doesn't. But my kids' move was a definite culture move as well. So, that was a big part of my reason, was obviously what my kids noticed, little things. And I mean, it's not like you should never compare, because, when you're in a situation, you don't really know what you have until you leave it, and then you only realize what you had. It almost felt like that, because school was just school when they were in Afrikaans school, and they were not always happy, and everything was not always perfect. So I'm not saying the one school was perfect and the other school wasn't perfect. What I'm saying is, you're in a situation and you are in the storm. You're living it. It's normal. Then you leave that situation, you go to a new situation, which is now your current storm. So obviously, your previous storm or school or situation or whatever you want to call it, that previous past situation all of a sudden looks beautiful, because number one, you miss it. Number two, you miss the people in it. Number three, you miss the familiarity of it, especially with children, because they become so familiar and they attach everything that they are and have to that specific person or school or friend or outfit. I mean, gosh, Nico used to wear Barbie all the time. Movie, we all do it. Like we take a something that's happening in our minds, and we will attach it to something that makes us feel similar or valued or seen or appreciated. So, definitely the move, the school, the culture, although the culture at home's always been the same, it's always been mixed. But obviously the school has got such a big influence on the culture that you have at home. And take note of this, because I've lived both cultures. That it does. It influences what you do at home, how you speak at home, what kind of music the kids listen to. It was always Afrikaans, now it's only English. Like, it definitely influences home. So with all that said today, I don't want to carry on because I'm scared I lose you, and I need you to listen to the other reasons why I do what I do. Why do I homeschool my 4 kids? Was it COVID? No, it was not COVID. Did COVID have an impact or an influence on my choice? Most definitely. But stay tuned. Please, guys, follow this channel. And subscribe and press the bell notification to not miss my next video on why I choose what I do and why I do what I do and why I homeschool my 4 kids in South Africa. I hope you guys have a good day. See you soon. Bye.